Greetings, Earthlings. Today we're going to go over what to do the day before and the day of the exam. I know a lot of you have a lot of important exams coming up around this time of year, and so I thought this would be a good time to do this video. Now, over here I've listed all the points I'm going to discuss, and in red are some key themes from what I'm going to tell you guys. So pardon me if I have to look down at my notes. We're just going to run through these real quick because I know you have an exam to be ready for. Alright, so here's the day before, the day of. So the day before, how much should you practice the day before the exam? I know a lot of you might feel like, oh, I need that extra little preparation. What should you do? I don't recommend more than 30 minutes of practice. The 30 minutes is just a loose number. If you have to, it can be an hour, but really like 15, 30 minutes, I would not do a lot. Why? Because you don't want to be physically and mentally tired for the exam. So what do I usually like to do during those 30 minutes? If I have a nagging question or two, let's say there's some like vocabulary list and there's like one word that's really bothering me, I might look up that word. The reason I might do that is that I don't want that word nagging me right during the exam. It's not even to get that extra knowledge. I want to have my mind at ease. So take that 30 minutes, don't learn any new information, review things you're already pretty confident in. So this should help you boost your confidence and just get that, rid of a few nagging questions. That's it. Don't overdo it. 30 minutes. Now, number 2, the game plan. This is a really important point, so I'll actually start this. I recommend making an index card or a piece of paper. Don't just keep this in your head. Write this down. Come up with 1 or 2 key points. Now, these have to be very high level, not something very specific, not like some specific problem you had trouble with. So 1 or 2 key points that you need to remember on the day of the exam. Think of it like a sports team. If I'm a soccer player or whatever athlete, this coach is not going to give me 15 or 20 cues, like breathe faster, run to the left, pass to your teammate, run this drill. He's going to give me one simple cue, which is, go to your left side, they're weak on their left side, whatever, something very simple. So your game plan, I want you to come up with 1 or 2 of the most sort of valuable points that get you to score the best, and that's what I want you to focus on. So here's some examples. Some common ones might be, if you have careless errors, remember to reread the questions. So I would say reread the questions. That would be number 1 for many people. Number 2 might be, for let's say reading comprehension or English, might be summarize each paragraph as you read. A third one, again, I would only pick 1 or 2, but another example might be remember to start each question a bit slower for the first 15 seconds on the setup of the problem and look for elegant solutions before you dive into some ugly solution. It's very student specific, so you guys already should know what your main issues are and what the most helpful cues are. So pick 1 or 2 of the most helpful, like rereading the questions. That's a great cue. And I want you to spend 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, close your eyes and visualize yourself doing that on the day of the exam. So imagine you come into the exam room, the proctor's handing out the paper, and you're like, what do I have to do? I have to do reread the question every single time. So just go over that for 2 to 5 minutes. That's your little visualization, and that's your game plan that you're going to have in your mind up to the exam. Next. Activity. So let's say you're an athletic kid, you might be wondering, well, if I normally have like a soccer game or something, should I skip my game? Should I just stay inside all day? Should I watch TV? What should I do physically? Should I just not do anything so I'm not tired? There's not like one exact answer, but the general idea is stick to your normal routine. If you're normally active, if you normally play 30 minutes of basketball, then play 30 minutes of basketball. If you normally play 30 minutes of basketball, don't suddenly play a 2-hour epic 5-on-5 full court game. If you're normally not active, that's not the day to start a new activity, so you're super tired on the day of the exam. So do what you normally do that normally gets you to physically function. So it's okay to be a little active, just in moderation. Also, like let's say you're normally active and now you suddenly decide not to be active at all, you're going to feel really cranky and you're going to have body aches and pains. You're going to feel uncomfortable during the day of the exam because you're used to moving and now you didn't move the day before. So your body's going to be a little more resilient if you're used to moving. But like I said, you judge it based on your normal level of activity. So don't change anything last minute. Number 4, sleep. Now this is probably the single most important, I really want to emphasize this, probably the single most important point of the whole presentation. So if you do nothing else, if you're like, just give me one thing, sleep. You could have done everything else. If you get poor sleep, your exam performance will suffer. So I think this is the single biggest variable. I hope I've emphasized that enough. So what does that mean? That means you have to go to bed at a good hour, not at like midnight or 2 a.m. So 9 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever. You need to go to bed at a good hour, get enough hours, and get quality sleep. This includes, and I'm guilty of this, so many people are guilty of this. These days, it's a really big issue. Looking at a cell phone or a computer or watching TV before bedtime. The reason that it's bad, there's a very physiological reason. There's blue light. All our devices, including LED lights in the house, they emit blue light. If you are stimulated with blue light right before bedtime, it basically shuts down your melatonin secretion, so you don't get a good quality of sleep. You may get a lot of sleep, you may get 9-10 hours of sleep, but you won't feel very well rested. So I recommend for 2 to 3 hours before going to bed on exam day, don't shut off all your devices, and just, if you want to read a book for fun, you want to go for a walk, you want to just relax, play a board game, whatever. Don't stare at a computer screen, TV screen, that kind of stuff. For those of you that absolutely must, you just have to check some important email, or you have to be on the phone or computer, I recommend doing one of 2 things. Either get blue light blocking glasses. You could find these for $3 or $4 on Amazon, let's say. They're like these orange funny looking glasses. You can get a cheap pair, they don't have to be fancy. Or install this program called Flux, F.LUX, on your computer. All it does is adjust your screen so that when it's nighttime, it filters out the blue wavelengths. So that's all I'm going to say on that one. And if you don't engage in this technology stuff right before bedtime, you'll notice you have a much better quality of sleep. All right, so that takes care of that. Like I said, sleep's super important. Now, day of the exam. If you have a morning routine, I won't go into that. I know a lot of kids probably don't have elaborate morning routines. They might just wake up and eat breakfast or whatever. But if you have a morning routine, like maybe if you exercise or do meditation or whatever, or you have to jump in a circle, whatever it is you guys like to do what you normally do for your morning routine. Now, when it comes to breakfast, the basic idea is, again, stick to your normal routine. Whatever gets you to function well is what you need to do. I'm going to tell you guys sort of 2 stories. When I was in my student days, like junior high school, some of college, most of college, I was a breakfast person. So I ate breakfast every single day. I did not believe in skipping breakfast. And because I was used to that, if I skipped breakfast or ate a later breakfast or something went wrong with my breakfast, my energy would be all messed up. So if you're someone that normally eats breakfast, then you should eat a good breakfast. We'll talk about that in a second. If you're someone that doesn't like to eat breakfast, then don't suddenly start eating breakfast. So for example, just to show you guys, for myself now, for the last 2-3 years, I've been skipping breakfast. I like that better. That's called intermittent fasting. That's a whole side conversation. That's a long-term lifestyle change, and I find that healthier for me now. Do I recommend that? No, I don't recommend you start that on exam day. So in terms of the exam day, if you're a month or 2 out, maybe you could experiment that. But if you're a few days out from an exam, if you normally eat breakfast, eat breakfast. If you normally don't eat breakfast, don't eat breakfast. Now, what should you eat if you're going to eat breakfast? You want to eat a meal that will give you a lot of energy. I'm not going to specify what exact foods, but I'll give you an idea. So if you're eating fats and proteins, you're eating eggs, avocados, maybe some, multi-grain toast or whatever. I don't want to get into a whole diet discussion because I have a lot of thoughts on that, but it's whatever you're used to eating that you feel gives you a lot of energy. So eggs might be a good food to eat. You got protein, fat, they might give you sustained energy levels. What might be a bad choice? something very sugary. So if you're eating just like a sugary cereal or like sweet pancakes or like muffins or bagels, even orange juice is very sugary. So like I said, if you're really used to it, you could sort of have it I advise people not to because it's very sugary. So in general, I would stay away from the sugar, and you can do carbs, no carbs. If you're gonna do carbs, just make sure it's complex carbs, like like an oatmeal or a buckwheat, something that will sustain you, like a sweet potato versus like a white rice. Whatever it is you guys are used to eating that gives you a lot of energy. So I'm not gonna. We can fiddle with the diet tips, and if you guys have questions in the comments, I'll be happy to respond to those. But the idea is, don't eat like 20 candy bars and ice cream and stuff like that. There's a whole range of healthy foods you guys can eat, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, regular, paleo, doesn't matter. So eat a nice big breakfast if you're into a big. Now, when I say big breakfast, if you're a breakfast person, there's a sweet spot. If you don't eat enough food, you're going to be hungry. If you eat too much, if you eat like a huge breakfast, then you'll be in a food coma. So if you normally eat like 2 eggs and avocado and whatever, don't suddenly eat 4 or 5 eggs and like 3 avocados and 7 pieces of toast and like a pasta. Then you're going to be sleeping during the exam. So also a few other things in terms of stimulants. I'll mention this briefly. I'm not going to give you guys the definitive idea, just something for you guys to consider. Things like green tea, coffee, dark chocolate, all of those can help you be a little more alert. They kind of can help spruce you up. That said, there's a fine line. You may or may not want to do those. So it really depends. Like I used to be a fan of just herbal teas like rosehip or hibiscus or chamomile. Chamomile is actually going to calm you down, so maybe not chamomile, unless you're very nervous. But maybe an herbal tea. If you're going to do a green tea or a coffee or dark chocolate, stuff like that, that can be great if you're feeling like really sleepy, you really need to wake up fast. Just know that there's a slight downside in that the caffeine is going to have your body all buzzing. So, you might crash, but I would say that's more like later in the day. I'm not so much concerned about the crash. I'm more concerned about it making you go to the bathroom, and we'll talk about that in a second. So if you drink, let's say, a ton of like caffeinated tea or coffee, you might find you're running to the bathroom, either number 1 or number 2, all morning. So maybe if you're going to do like green tea, maybe do that in moderation, like 1 medium-sized cup instead of like 3, or like don't drink a gigantic coffee mug size amount. Anyway, so drink whatever you want. I recommend either water or some sort of herbal tea. If you want a little bit of caffeinated green tea, black tea, a little coffee, that's fine, just in moderation is my advice. So remember, also when you're drinking, you do want to drink a little bit. You want to stay hydrated, because when you're not hydrated, you start to get tired and you don't perform at your best. But that said, there's a trade-off. If you drink too much, you're going to be running to the bathroom during the exam. So you don't want to drink so much that you're going to have to pee every minute. So maybe, you could drink a cup of tea, a cup of water, that's fine. And I'll also talk about maybe bringing water with you in a second. So in terms of diet, here's the key: moderation, timing, and choice of beverages and food. So, eat what you normally eat in moderation, time it so you're not eating it like way before the exam or too soon, or either right before the exam or too early, so that by the time the exam hits, now you're hungry and tired again. So you want to time it so that it lasts you throughout the exam. Remember, at the end of the day, you know your body and you know how you react to different foods and beverages. So plan accordingly. Do what you know has worked well for you in the recent past. All right, what to bring? In short, I recommend being over-prepared. So, don't forget your ID, your test ticket, pens, pencils. I always like to have at least 3, like number 2 pencils, 3 pens. I don't want to have 1 or 2. What if it breaks, runs out of ink? I don't want to have to worry about that stuff. Calculators, batteries, spare batteries. Maybe it's worth that, $3, $4 to have a spare set of batteries. Imagine if your batteries run out and you're a big calculator buff, now you're going to feel miserable. A watch. Sometimes you guys think, I'll just use my phone, but what if the phones aren't allowed? So I'd recommend a watch. And other things that you may not think of, such as a sweater or a jacket. What if it's this is for both boys and girls, ladies and men. It tends to be a little more often with ladies, but in girls, what if you get cold? The air conditioning is really freezing, and it's so cold that you're either just so cold, you're just either just cold, or you're cold and now you have to run to the bathroom every minute. So you never know what the room temperature is going to be. So I always recommend having a spare, sweater, having like a layer so you can always adjust how you're dressed. A water bottle, snacks. Some things you might consider for a snack might be nuts and seeds, dark chocolate, an apple. I don't recommend anything too sugary, but so like nuts are a good choice. Maybe nuts and raisins. I don't want to get into the diet minutia, but something like that would be good. They may not let you eat the food during the exam, but you can eat it right before the exam. And just having the food, or like sometimes in the past I brought like snacks or water, and I didn't even like eat it. My mind was I wasn't hungry, but just knowing that you have it with you gives you peace of mind. So I would just have something with you just in case. All right, number 7, what to wear. In short, loose, comfortable clothing. So like what I'm wearing now, I wish you guys can feel it. It feels so comfortable. It's a nice cotton shirt, and I could take an exam in this comfortably. What you don't want to wear is something that's just going to be like so tight that it constricts you. Not only is it going to feel unpleasant, maybe I'm weird like this, but I know when I wear tight clothing, it makes me go to the bathroom more often. So if you're wearing comfortable clothing, you're not going to be distracted and uncomfortable. Jeans are fine, you can wear whatever. Personally, I like wearing like sweatpants and a hoodie. They're just like cotton sweatpants and a hoodie. I find them really comfortable. Like I dress up like I'm gonna go do a workout because I want to feel comfortable when I'm sitting. Basically, just make sure you love the way you feel in whatever you're wearing. Shoes, socks, make sure your shoes are comfortable. You don't want to put on like nice dress shoes or heels or whatever and sit in like maybe heavy boots. Put on a shoe wear that is really, maybe a pair of sneakers that you can work out in. In essence, wear an outfit that will aid your performance. So like I mentioned before, I wouldn't wear like tight, boxers or briefs or anything like that. Or I wouldn't wear a tight belt. I wouldn't wear polyester or spandex or material that's going to make you like sweat or feel uncomfortable. So, all right, now we get to number 8. My secret tip. All right, don't laugh, guys. This is really my secret tip. This is my secret ritual that I've done almost on almost every exam I've ever taken. You guys might think I'm over exaggerating this, but I know for me, just like I said, sleep the day before is really big. This is gonna make or break my exam. And that is number 1 and number 2. That's right, going to the bathroom. It seems like an obvious thing. Sometimes you're not sure if you have to go. If you're not sure, you have to go. So make sure you go number 1 and number 2. I mean, I don't want to get too into the details, but like number 2, I might go at home. If I have to, I'll go at the exam place. Number 1, I'll often have to go right before the exam. The point is, if you really try to go right before the exam, there's two, this is a really obvious point, but it's not just that if you have to excuse yourself during the exam for 5 minutes, you've wasted 5 minutes, but also, I know that when I have to pee or go to the bathroom, my mind is not fully focused on the exam. I'm just thinking rush, rush, rush so I can make good time so I can go pee. So you don't want to be fully distracted. So you guys know when you go to the bathroom, you feel really relaxed physiologically, and that's related to test anxiety. So make sure you go to the bathroom, and this is related to what you ate for breakfast and everything. You want to feel physically really good. When you're nervous, also, there is a tendency for your just like with caffeine, for your body to start revving up and you're like, oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom again. I just went 10 minutes ago. That's what happens when you're nervous because of physiological changes in your body. So just anticipate that and realize better safe than sorry. When right before the kids are being herded into the classrooms, maybe try to break away, go to the bathroom. if you got that under your belt, I think you're going to feel a lot more relaxed, and your exam's going to go much better. So that's my secret tip. I really want to emphasize that. I know people say you have to go, but it's not like a little difference. It's a huge difference. For me, I can't emphasize it enough. All right. All right, finally, right before the exam. So now you've done all this, you're already in the room, you're filling out your Scantrons or whatever. If you're feeling nervous or have test anxiety, in short, I want to refer you guys to the test anxiety video that I did on my channel, so you can find that. That will give you a lot more insight as to what to do there. I'm not going to go into it in detail here. That's going to have plenty of tips for you guys. So that's the last piece of the puzzle. Now, let me sum up by saying this. So if you've done your practice, so you've been a good student, you've put in your work, and you're at your physical optimum because you've been doing all of these tips, and you watched the test anxiety video on my channel, now all that remains is for you to just demonstrate your current level during the exam. So that's all. We don't expect a miracle performance from you. Just do what you've trained to do. Just do what you've trained to do for in practice on the exam. Let me know how it goes. Good luck, guys.